John Rhys-Davies!
And it's lovely to be back in, where the hell are we this time? It's lovely to be back in Dallas, of course. And I've never seen quite so many homeless people looking for a little place. Anyway, but thank you very much for coming.
John was hyping up the town, and then you just talk about it. Just kidding. All right, what are we going to talk about?
All right, let's talk about the end of the human race to really change. Did you notice that this week it was reported that one, and I think it may have been ChatGPT, refused to turn off. And another AI actually was caught writing a little sub-batch or sub-instruction so that it itself could restart itself. This may be the moment in history where anyone who's surviving says it was at that point that it really started. A momentous week.
It's so funny that you even brought this up, John, because the last time, I think we were in Philadelphia together, and the last thing we talked about was AI, and I thought that conversation, we were just scratching the surface with that conversation. Last time I saw you, also, you came up on the panel with Andy Serkis and I. We were talking a little bit, and Andy is a big advocate on using AI as a tool, using it properly. I wanted to get your take on where you see the entertainment industry going and how AI can be used either to benefit or to destroy Hollywood.
I just today given my little votes on a little AI film competition that's going. One or two of them I thought were okay, but three or four of them I thought were really good, and one of them was brilliant. It told a whole story, and it's all in the camera, it's all in the computer. I think that it's progressing so quickly. I did a little horror picture about 4 weeks ago, and there were one or two of the special effects that they were using some of the images of the actors, and I really thought that they were the actors. The faces were so good and so depicted. I'm quite convinced that actually the revolution that is coming upon us is going to be the biggest and most significant change in modern history. And people compare it to the advent of the Industrial Revolution, saying, yes, it put the weavers out of work, but they went into the cities and they become engineers, you know. Or, I think that the scale and the rate of this change is going to be one of the most disruptive things that has ever happened to industrialized societies. And now, I've got to do this very delicately because I do not want to appear to be in any way advocating or denying your government's policies. No, wait a minute, no, I mean this quite seriously. Perhaps when we look at the radical changes that have been made by your new president, perhaps there is a rationale behind it. And that rationale is this, that Elon Musk, who has for many years been saying that the impact of AI is going to be colossal. He reckons 35% of jobs will be impacted. If you think about the economic and social cost of that, perhaps it would actually destroy your your social system. And my guess is that this impulse towards a sovereign wealth fund and restricting the number of Americans and those attacks on the IRS are part of a plan to get rid of income tax, create a sovereign wealth fund that will give every American money, a regular paycheck. And because there is no income tax, liberate the entrepreneurial spirit. In other words, if you're living on a small paycheck and you're saying, but there's no point in me earning because I get taxed on it, that disappears. The other benefit it would have is this. We all endorse capitalism because we all benefit from it. But the way things are going at the moment, if you imagine capitalism as a triangle like that, we all benefit under that. But right at the moment, the wealth is being concentrated more and more in a relatively small number of people. And that is a very unstable thing. It produces great envy and great jealousy and great unrest at the bottom. It produces great insecurity at the top. And if there is this, if what I'm seeing is right, then we may be able to control some of the social impact of massive job displacement and loss, and liberate the entrepreneurial spirit in everyone in America. When you add to that the sovereign wealth fund would need plenty of resources and not adding too many extra people to it, that makes sense of, for instance, looking at Canada, looking at Greenland. Let me go one step further. Perhaps it might also be looking at the largest territory in the world, Russia, which has undeveloped resources and a relatively small population. I realize that this sounds quite fantastical, but if it isn't the policy, should it be the policy? I'm sorry, I love stirring shit, don't I?
I feel like you just pitched us a new episode of Sliders. So, we were talking about with Andy Serkis, who and I were up on stage, that Andy's directing the new film. I shared a little bit about myself with a lot of these folks before you got on stage.
I'd heard that.
And I was telling them about times where interviews just don't go the way that I think they're going to go. A role for you that you've said this before, that's still kind of hunter, and you didn't know the right way to approach it, was tribute. I wanted to get your insight on that, about why you think that role was the one that still kind of haunts you a little bit. And if Andy were to give you the opportunity to reprise that role, what would your approach be now?
Oh, God, no, please. Why Treebeard? Oh.
I mean, I'm sure Gimli would be in the film as well, but I'm just curious if that's something that you want to take another stab at.
Well, I'm locked into it, aren't I? I mean, what I did is what's out there, but I don't know how to do that. A young voice actor came up to me today and he said, can you give me an exercise or a suggestion about, and quite maliciously I said to him, yes, I think you ought to try and work on finding a voice for Treebeard. If you see that, my apologies, Gimli. But Treebeard it's a difficult one. everything a book can do that a film can't do. It can convey a sense of time just by going, ooh, rah, rum. And our eye reads it and we know it's very lager, very slow. But if we do that in film, not so hasty. We've lost the audience. So how do you convey that sense of time? The answer is I didn't know then, and I tried not to think about it since. And to have to think about it again, it will bring back those nightmares. Do you know, I've never had this. I do not have nightmares. I can sleep easily at night through bombs dropping and aircraft buzzing. I've done all that. I never noticed a thing. But there must have been at least 10, maybe 15 times after doing Treebeard that I woke up at night, in that blank fear of, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it. I did tell you that time, I went on Bob Hieronymus' show in New York, a radio show, and he had 3 or 4 friends who were real Tolkien scholars. And I said to him, look, I could use some help here. If anyone's got some suggestions of how to do this walking, talking, slow-moving, almost the oldest thing on the planet. If I could get some clues, I'd be really happy to listen to them. We only get one answer back, and I told you that one, but I'll tell the audience anyway. The answer was this. There is only one actor in the world that can do this. At which point I have to say I preened a little bit, you know. James Earl Jones. I told that to James and he tended to agree with me.
It's great. Jogging your memory back when you did Lord of the Rings, I know that was a role that haunted you. But can you talk about a time that you'd want to go back to go back in time and relive a performance you did, not to change the performance, but just to live on set, being there, and embracing it, taking it all in. And maybe you didn't do that when you were there shooting New Zealand at the time.
One would certainly be Shōgun. It was my really first big opportunity, and I was still in my stupid drama school mentality of not wanting to have any stills done. You know, how stupid can an actor be? For goodness sake, how can you come to fan conventions unless you've got some photographs? But more than that, I think that, I did the right thing. I should have perhaps done more of it. I don't look. When you look at a script, some actors just count the pages. You know, how many pages am I in? It's a small part. You know, a good actor reads it thoroughly and really absorbs it and sees what the problems are and how he can make himself central to solving those problems. If you do that, you do the script service, you do the producer and director service, you can do your fellow actors service, and of course, if you are central to solving some of those problems, you do your self-service as well. But the way you do this is to study the script very carefully. By the way, I remember I'm making a little picture with a young man who happens to be the youngest son of an old friend of mine called Pierce Brosnan. And young Paris is a model. He's tall, he's handsome, and he is such a keen actor that he he reads the entire script through again twice a day, every day. That's how keen he is to understand the script of the story. And that's the sort of focus that young actors must have. So you can see where you are in the story and the part you play. Now in Shōgun, the problem was evident. They were going to use an awful lot of Japanese. Now when we see a foreign film, we can in a language that we really don't understand at all. Um, our eyes glaze over very quickly when we hear the Japanese. And the Englishman, played by my dear and much loved and departed friend Richard Chamberlain, um, uh, has this problem that he is the hero, and yet he has to play a passive hero, reacting to things. When you're a passive hero, you can't control the pace of the scene. You can't control the pace of a group of scenes. It's very hard to control the pace of the whole thing. Impossible in that particular case. So what was my function to do that? My function was to come in with every scene that I was with him, with twice the energy that really it needed to be, to bring that extra pace so that he, instead of having to control uh, the pace of the scene, could just undercut, could just relax, undercut, underplay, and, and just let the energy of the scene be carried by me, and that would then go on into the next scenes that came. That's how this thinking actor did that. And I only pass it on to you because it's one way in which an actor should look at a script and see how to serve it. The great maxim for actors and writers and musicians and performers of all sorts should be engraved on a plaque on the wall opposite their bed, so that every day we wake up and we see those great lines of Dr. Johnson. The drama's laws, the drama's patrons give, and they who live to please must please to live. We have to serve the audience. We have to serve those who put the shows on for us. And when I talk to young actors, I say to them, if you find the audience angry with you or upset by you, do not blame them. It's your fault. You may have come up with the most revolutionary version of playing Hamlet of all time, but if they're walking out, then it's not their fault, it's your fault. And, and, and I never want to hear, as I once heard quite a good actor, you could hear it in the wings say, stupid audience. Actually, he was using worse words than that. Stupid audience. Don't understand a bloody thing, do they? Not hear it as well. Actually, they did. They just didn't like his performance because he'd made the wrong choice.
Um, Speaking of great actors, you were surrounded by a lot of them in New Zealand on Lord of the Rings. Uh, I love the chemistry that you have with Orlando Bloom. Is he going to get this weekend, by the way? I hope he crashes panelists. Like John, I really do. Simply because, listen, Orlando kind of blames you for trying to tip over a boat when you guys were shooting. Just saying, it's something that he said. Look, I want to put the record straight now. Speaking of,
as the dwarf, and the best dwarf who won, I would like to make something clear. Right at the beginning, they put us in canoes to try and teach us how to canoe. Now, we dwarves are natural canoeists. As if I'm wrong. So the dwarf and the elf find themselves in a canoe. The canoe topples over, depositing the dwarf and the elf in the water. The elf, being the shallow little pooper that he is, says it collapsed because the dwarf was off balance. The dwarf, with his usual and accustomed dignity, went to lunch, and afterwards we reconvened. This time the elf was in a canoe with, I will not name him, but it could have been a hobbit. And you'll never guess what happened. It toppled over again. So quite clearly the first time it wasn't the dwarf that did it.
I love it. John, I have this theory, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I have this theory that every single Indiana Jones movie that you're in happens to be the better ones. I'm saying that you're a good luck charm for Indiana Jones.
I used to, every time I ran into, very deliberately ran into Steven Spielberg, I used to say, Steven, 1 and 3, marvelous. 2 and 4, there's something missing there. Now I wonder what it could be. And he would smile. But let's not talk about 5. It hurts too much.
Well, listen, I feel that five. Look, going back and rewatching five, I don't think it's a bad movie whatsoever. I feel like what happened was we were talking about this earlier. We're all friends here. Movies just don't last at the box office as long anymore. Whether it be for people who watch at home, whatever it may be, they're just not in theaters as much anymore, so they can't get the run that these that other films have.
Well, I would have said that if you want to make a nostalgia film, you don't film it with people that are old friends of Indy that you never met before.
This is true. This is true.
Was that a criticism? Oh, no, heaven forbid. Anyway, yes. The film hasn't made its money back yet.
I think they're still working on it. I do want to ask you though about the third Indiana Jones film because that's something we don't talk about a ton. Talk to me about your experience on that film.
Talking about what?
The third Indiana Jones.
Yes.
Last Crusade.
With Sean, yes.
Yeah.
Sean Connery was the ultimate alpha male. I mean, there are some old alpha males here and younger alpha males here, but in reality, we wouldn't hold a candle to Sean. He'd been an ex-fighter. He was a tough, Gorbals, Glasgow kid who grew up. He was very good looking, and women always found him attractive. Now, who is it? Yes, Gene Simmons. No, it wasn't Gene. It was that one little girl who did Limelight with Chaplin. Oh, come on. I haven't seen him on it, but anyway, she was writing about it the other day. She was friends with a lovely actress called Diane Charlento. And she said, I want you to come have a look at this young actor. Can't get any work at the moment, but I think he's got real star quality. And I think it was her that introduced her to Cubby Broccoli. He introduced Sean to Cubby Broccoli. course, Cubby didn't pay anybody any money in all the action. And in the end, that led to a real sort of very savage rift between Cubby and Connery. But it gave him a wonderful start as an international star. And he went on, unlike some others, he went on then to really have a long life and be constantly reinventing himself in movies. He always played himself, but then when you look like that and you've got that twinkle in your eye, you know, and every woman goes, "Oh, Sean." Hey, you've got it flaunted, eh? But a magnificent star. I didn't ask Cubby about another very short-lived James Bond as well. And he said, "Well, you know, I said at the end, he doesn't know how to act, but then Sean didn't know how to act either until we actually sort of taught him how to do it." And in a way that is correct. Cubby Broccoli represents really the last of the old studio producer magnates. And they were prepared to really look after their actors and develop them. He was a great Italian prince, dear old Cubby. I got well off the subject, haven't I?
Listen, I can hear you talk all day about some of these stories. I feel like this is why we're all here. There's no better way to close out a Friday than with you. It's the truth. Listen, I'm telling you, your stories are incredible. There's such a wealth of knowledge from actors from the past, from actors now. It's pretty impressive, honestly. You've lived a life, man.
You know, I have.
Yeah.
I have done everything a boy should do. I have flown planes, and I was in a plane crash and walked away from it. Not my flying. If it had been my flying, it wouldn't have crashed. That's why the best dwarf always win. You know, I've raced a few cars. I've been lost in the bush and got my way out. I've chased some beautiful ladies, and one or two of them were kind enough to slow down and then
And you said Sean Connery's the alpha male?
No. We all think of ourselves as alpha males, but just now and again there's a real alpha male.
Well, I'm sitting with one on the stage.
Oh no. Yes, and obviously now I'm probably entering my last 35 years. We had my 81st birthday last month, so this month actually. And I want to address this to all of you younger people, because everybody in this room is younger than me, thank God. There are two things I want you to learn. Do not retire unless you absolutely physically have to. Keep going. If you retire, you will sit on the couch and die. Quickly. I certainly would if I retired and didn't keep going. So the trick is to find a job that will allow you to keep going. That's your problem, not mine. The second thing is this. I do want to pass this on to you. I am probably going to die within the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever.
Come on, you're gonna outlive us all.
No, that's not the point. The point is, don't be afraid of dying. The great philosopher Seneca wrote an essay about this, saying, look, men live all their lives in fear of death. And it's absurd because we are all going to die. So what he says is that imagine in your mind how you will die. Now for him, being the tutor of, was it Nero, or yes, it was Nero, or was it Caligula?
Like, I don't know. Like the dumbest guy in this room, I would.
Well, one of the really monstrous young things. Imagine being his tutor, and anyway, he governed for him quite well, but then the message came, you will go to your place and remove yourself, or the guards will be coming in and they will kill you. So he went into the bath and opened his veins and ended his life that way. But his point is this: if you are afraid of death, imagine how you could die, how you would die, or what the probable way you'll die is, and work your way through that. So when that moment comes closer, you recognize the scenario, and you know how to behave. The most important thing we as parents can give to our children is that certain knowledge that we have taught them not just how to live, but how to die. Everyone will die. Let us die with the maximum dignity that we can. When I was a teenage boy, I was in love with Kate. Kate was the love of my life. And like a 17-year-old boy does, I said, I love you, Kate. I will always love you. I will hold you in my arms when you die. Well, thankfully, she ran away from me. We had two wonderful and separate lives, but we always remained friends. And I took my daughter to meet her last year in March, because I wanted to show her how a 78-year-old woman is still making a positive contribution to the education of children in remote Indian schools in Panama. Kate was not very well, so we took her to the doctor. The doctor diagnosed intestinal cancer. She had a surgery, and then I took her and a couple of other school friends of mine off, as I do, for a little jaunt sometimes. And we went to Vienna. We went to a wonderful wedding of a friend of ours in the Tyrol. She came back, and then she had a recurrence of it. And I then spent about 2 months with her, just to be there at the end. And it was wonderful. We had so much laughter. We had so much fun. We listened to the music that we wanted to listen to. And we talked about all the important things. 3 days before she died, she was sitting in a wheelchair on the veranda, and I came up the stairs and said, "Good morning, Kitty, how are you this morning?" And she opened her eyes, fixated on my shirt, and she said, "Take that shirt off and give it to Marisenia to wash. You've got a stain on it." That's a woman 3 days away from death. 2 days away from death. John, what, darling? Go away and keep everyone out of the room. Keep everyone out of the room. I want to say my prayers. All right, darling. So, end of the room, no one can come in, right? And I'm listening to her, and it's, God, I'm ready to go. Please take me now. This is really very boring. It's boring me. It's boring me. It's boring everybody. Look, just let me go now. I'm ready. Okay, let's go. And she rambled on like this for about 2 minutes, and then she was exhausted. So I finally went back to the bed, and I looked down at her, and she opened her eyes and said, "It's no good. I'm not going to die today. I might as well have a shower. And the last day, she was very weak, and she said something, and I could not hear it. So I said, Say that again, Kitty, I can't hear you. And she leaned forward and she kissed my cheek. And she then relaxed back on the pillow. And I looked at her and she looked at me and she smiled. And what it was, thank you. I love you. Goodbye. That is the way we must help our friends, our lovers, our relatives to die. With that support. And that's what I urge you. Look, I had a plane crash once, and I had the great privilege of knowing that in those moments when you know you're going to die, I wasn't going, oh my God, I'm going to die. For me it was, rude word, but will you shit? Oh shit. What a stupid way to die. And it was like a great blanket of depression on me. You know, I just thought, stupid, I could have. And the damn thing was, I told the pilot I couldn't see how we could make the takeoff. I had 13 hours as a student pilot, and I knew it wasn't safe. He was a bloody professional pilot. So when we hit the tree and it came back, snapped him off his seat, and he came back and he virtually guillotined the bottom of my leg. I had no compunction in trying to push the seat and him onto the tree to move the plane back. But I couldn't. I really didn't care if I killed him because the city bucket was just trying to kill me. But that's beside the point. The point is, live your life joyously, fully, and as free of fear as you can be. Do not be afraid of death. All of us will die. But let's do it in the best possible manner that we can. Well, on that sad note,
Actually, we're out of time. But, if you do, I would highly recommend meeting John at his booth. Get a picture, grab a photo, share your experience. This guy has stories for days. He'll share his experiences with you as well. Believe me, it's the best money you were going to spend at this convention, just like this is the best Friday that you could have spent at this convention.
When somebody actually gets on the stage and says, first of all, AI, I think we've just seen the beginning of the end of humanity. And ends up saying, don't be afraid of death. You really have a bummer of an evening, haven't you? Go quickly!
No, but yes, John will be here all the other 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. Please meet him. He's a fantastic man, and he's lived some life, believe you me. Thank you, John.
Well, thank you. As always.